Okay. All right. All right. So, First Lady Dawn Moore, such an honor to be sitting here with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
We're sitting here in Maryland's government house, the governor's mansion. This is your house. Did you ever imagine that you would be living here?
You know, I worked in state government almost over 20 years ago. And I remember as a young staffer coming into this home. I worked for Governor Glendening, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, former Secretary of State John Willis, and we would do events here. And I remember coming here and just being in awe of this space and in the opportunity. But I never imagined that I would be living in this home. And I never imagined that I would marry the 63rd first African American governor of the state of Maryland. It is just such a privilege and blessing to be in this historic home. We're sitting in what is called the conservatory, but we also call it the Tubman Room, because we have a bust of Harriet Tubman here, and it is just the history of Maryland and the home that was built by those who came before us that I'm still in awe of.
Yeah, because this is the first time since 1870 when governors in the state and their families moved into the home that a Black first family has lived here. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it is a privilege. I remember when Wes and I came with our children, me and James, and the Hogans welcomed us to give us a tour around the house, and our kids were so excited. I don't know if we were more excited, they were more excited, but they were so excited, and I remember them running up the stairs and picking rooms and looking and kind of maybe, no, this is my room, no, this is gonna be your room. And of course the governor wanted them close on our floor. I was like, well, let's let them choose the room that works for them. But it is really just something that is, you can't almost express the feelings that you have from that. It is something that, again, I never imagined that would happen, but we worked so hard for it. And Wes and I would always say, nothing beats hard work. And I think that these are part of, such a beautiful opportunity to be able to share the space in the people's house of Maryland, and to be able to create a home that shows how diverse Maryland is, and to be able to welcome people into this space. We're very excited about the opportunities that we have to share in this space. So it's not just for our family, even though that is such a wonderful privilege and we live here daily. It is something that we're excited to share with all of Marylanders, all Marylanders.
As we enter truly what is a new era for the state, I know that the First Ladies like to put their own personal touches on the house. Last time I was here, former First Lady Yumi Hogan showed me her Korean fridge, her kimchi fridge, and being half Korean, I was like, oh, I know that. I know that well, My dad made us keep ours in the garage because, it smelled so bad. So I know that you're just getting settled in, but have you been able to do anything in the house
thank
yet?
you for that. And First Lady Hogan, she did a beautiful job of creating a space where the First Ladies have a room and their portraits are there, and we have those portraits also coming down the stairs. As you may know, the First Lady portraits are in Government House, while the Governor's portraits are in the State Capitol. But we have made some small changes, and we're looking forward to the other changes we'll make. So in the reception room, we had a piece that was done by the artist Simi Knox, and he did the Frederick Douglass piece that hangs now, has been moved to the entry of the house, the entryway of the house, because the governor and I wanted everybody who walked into this house to never miss that portrait. And so there's this beautiful portrait of him hanging in the entryway. And Frederick Douglass obviously is so meaningful to our state and meaningful to all Marylanders, and what he was able to accomplish under obviously, being a freed slave and being one of the greatest leaders of our nation afterwards. So we're so privileged to have that here. And then of course we have the Harriet Tubman bust. And so I'm looking forward to bringing in more artwork. It's some of the things that I want to be able to do here that are representative of 6.2 Marylanders. And so we have opportunities to share that space so people can come here and see themselves, that our children can see themselves, that other people's children can see themselves. So we have amazing history here, and we want to be able to share it through this space.
I love that. I can't wait to walk through and take a look and see the changes, the many changes. How are you doing? I know campaigning is hard. It's like the military, when the spouse serves, or when someone serves, like the spouse and the family also serve. And so when someone runs for office, the family also runs for office. And so just wanted to see, have you recovered yet?
Thank you for asking that. No, Wes and I spent about 500 days on the campaign trail. And once we made the decision, once we said we were going to do this, because you're right, you do this as a family. And I thank God for my husband, who he will always say, if she wasn't all the way in, then this wouldn't have happened. And that's the type of person that he is. He is such a wonderful partner, and he is, accountable, and he's true to his word. So I know it was so important for me to be all the way in. But once I was in, I was 1,000% in. And so we spent, I won't say I did as many days on the campaign trail as he did, but I was close.
Yeah.
And and then we moved into the inauguration, and I chaired the inauguration, and it was so exciting to be able to bring, to create an inclusive and a diverse inauguration, to build something that people who had never been a part of an experience like that could be a part of it. And so we created opportunities for a significant economic impact. We brought in people who had small businesses, women, people of color, to do the work of the inauguration. And when you hear some of the stories for those who stepped up to do that work, we had one gentleman who did all of the curtain work for the inauguration, and he drove around to all the different companies in his U-Haul to be able to accomplish what that job was. I mean, it's just so exciting what people did. And so, we are definitely all the way in, right? And my husband's in session, and he's doing some wonderful, wonderful work in session. We are delivering what we promised to Marylanders, and that is to show up, to leave no one behind, to be inclusive, to be everywhere we can. And so that's the promise that we're keeping.
And at the inaugural ball, you showed up and showed out in that dress. Oh my gosh, that was gorgeous.
Thank you. That was a local designer, Jody Davis, who I have been using her clothing for almost 10 years. And I couldn't have imagined anybody else to do my inaugural dress for the actual inauguration, and then Christian Siriano, who I was so privileged to use his gown that he created for me, and I wore that at the ball. So it was quite the experience, and I'm so grateful that people appreciated it and loved it, and I still get so many compliments on what I was able to wear. So I hope people feel that I represented Maryland well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a fairy tale. You did. You looked like a princess. And it's hard to ignore the love that you exude, especially when you're with your husband. I think it's 16 years of marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you guys have a full family, a full house.
We do. Yeah. Our kids and we have a lot of fun. One of the things I would say about being here in Annapolis, it's such a beautiful city. It's such a walkable town. We are out with our new puppy that we have. have, our puppy
Yes. Oh,
Tucker Baltimore. And
I love that.
I love taking him out on walks and playing with him in the yard. And Wes is playing with Jamie and Mia playing football. I heard from some of the elected leaders here and friends that we've made in Annapolis that there are a lot of First Lady and Governor sightings. That's because we're walking the town, we're going to lunch here, dinner, we're doing all the things. We want to be a part of the community. That's how we've always lived. That's how my husband has always led. And we love people. We love people. We love being around them. So we don't want to be removed because we're here. We want to be a part of the things that are going on.
Well, let me tell you, because I'm on the email list where I get his schedule every day, and I'm like, how does he have time to go to the bathroom? And so that was my next question. With both of you just so booked and busy, like, how do you still find time to make time for each other?
Absolutely.
And how do you do that?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, we have a wonderful village, and you have to tap into your village. And our children are a little older, and I say they're sturdy now, so they can be in the house for a little bit by themselves too. But we do make time, and we have a lot of fun together, and we laugh a lot together, and we try to create experiences together and with our children. So Saturday nights, we definitely save that for family time, and we watch movies, and we go get ice cream, and we do all those things, and it's exciting to us, and we understand the privilege that we have. And so we know that we need family time, but we also are able to do it out in the community. I just went to the Annapolis Film Festival. My understanding is that I was the first Lady to ever attend that. And it was so fabulous. I saw Chevalier, and they packed out the house there, and so happy to be able to support the things that are going on locally and across the state. We took our children, the Department of Natural Resources, they're doing a wonderful job of caring for our wildlife, and so we took our children to hug cubs as they checked on the mama bear, and they checked on the baby bears. So there's just so many things that we're doing, and bringing light to all of the wonderful work that Marylanders are doing, that the public servants of Maryland are doing. So it's very exciting, and we can make work play be a little bit fun.
Yeah, and that's actually a perfect segue, because when you talk about bringing light to issues and things, along with a new title, along with a new abode, also comes a bigger platform. And so have you had time to think about some of the issues that you want to take on firsthand, or perhaps personal issues that are important to you that you would really like to amplify those voices?
Thank you. Well, I certainly care about a wide array of things. Some of the things that are very important to me is the empowerment of women, youth development, and as I shared with you, the arts. This month, my husband declared March, along with Women's History Month, which we know is a national tradition, but he also declared it Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. And so I was diagnosed with MS in my late 20s, and to get a diagnosis like that was quite devastating. Because it is one of those illnesses where you don't know what the future may hold. But I was dating Wes at the time, and he was very, very supportive. And I remember talking to my cousin, and she said, "Oh, you have a really good guy, somebody who knows at that young age what MS could be or not be, but he loves you, and he still is there for you." And so that was so important, I think, through understanding my diagnosis and my prognosis. And I was originally diagnosed by a doctor who kind of dismissed my symptoms. And I think we know as women and women of color oftentimes that happens. And I ended up going to a specialist in New York who was an African American neurologist, someone who was from Alabama. And but she had trained at the best hospitals in the world. And she explained to me, she said, "Listen, this is your diagnosis." She said, "But I don't want you to come in here with anybody else's illness." And it just helped me to understand and change the perspective. And so I have been very blessed for the last 10 years, I've had no symptoms. I have a very benign course with the illness, but I have tried to do work around bringing awareness to the illness, and I'm so happy that there's so much research and development around the treatments for MS. My sister-in-law also has MS, and so this is something that women of color, particularly Black women, were misdiagnosed for a very long time with it, and suffered from substantial residual effects. But now that we have so much research around it, it's still important that we continue to elevate the cause. But I'm just so proud that people are doing such good work around the healing and the treatment of MS.
That had to be so frustrating, though. I going from doctor to doctor, knowing that we know our bodies better than anybody, knowing that something is off, something's not right. So what were some of the symptoms, or what are some of the things that you knew just were not right, and thankfully you did not take no for an answer?
Yes, no, I appreciate that so much. And I also have to say, you know, when you are going through something and you have strong people by your side, so I had Wes and I also had my mother. And she helped me not take no for an answer and get to the bottom. So I'm just so grateful. She's definitely one of my sheroes. But my first symptom was I lost taste in my mouth. And then I had the double vision, and then my gait was off. And I was actually told by a doctor that I was 2 type A, and that I was actually having a nervous breakdown. And, you know, and that was very difficult to hear, because I'm in my, you know, mid to late 20s, and I'm just trying to live my life, and all of a sudden you have all these things that are happening to you, and it feels like it's coming out of nowhere. And that's often with autoimmune illnesses and neurological illnesses, that you have these experiences. And then I went to another doctor, and then he just said, oh yeah, this is MS. I don't even have to look. I don't even have to do a spinal tap. I can just look at it and I know. No bedside manner, and no sensitivity to it. And I remember breaking down in tears, because I just thought, that's it for me. But when I found this doctor, and she gave me the confidence to understand, no, you're gonna be okay. I think that mattered in my prognosis. I think that mattered in the way that I've been able to live my life. Now, I do not take any medication. I did at one point, but again, as I said, I have a benign illness. But in the beginning, I was very intentional about taking a holistic approach. So it was medication, it was fitness, it was being aware of my mental health. It was all of those things. And so that is really important, I think, for anybody going through anything. You have to find the best treatments for you. You have to find what works for you, and you go for it, and keep yourself surrounded by the people who are going to support you in that. And I'm just so grateful that I had those people in my life.
And that regimen worked for you, and those symptoms subsided?
Those symptoms
subsided. So you've been able
subsided.
to keep them at bay?
Yes, I've been able to keep them at bay. I have what is called relapsing remitting, but I have not had any symptoms in over 10 years, in about 10 years. Wow. So I have been, as I said, I've been very lucky and very blessed to have the family that I have, to have the husband that I have, and to be able to find the healthcare professionals that work for my treatments.
And I know you've done events where you've talked about this, but have you ever really publicly spoken about, you know, in an interview or even
so
as
this
a
is
platform?
my first interview to really talk about it. So I thank you for opening up your platform, so that hopefully I could have some impact on somebody who's going through something. So I truly appreciate that. I did do an event some years ago with some of the housewives of Potomac, and we raised money for the Multiple Sclerosis Society, which is the national organization. And we just did it with a dear friend of mine, Robin, and we just wanted to do something good. And we decided that we would make the MS Society our nonprofit partner. And that was the first time that I had been public about it. And part of the reason was because I never wanted to be treated differently because of my illness. But what I learned very quickly is that I had the privilege of doing that because I had no residual damage. I had no residual treatment, effects. And so I thought that that was selfish. I thought that was selfish because there are some people who need someone to be able to speak on their behalf. And I thought, no, it's time for me to be public about it, because if I can help somebody along the way, I want to be able to do that. And so that was why I decided to become public about it. And I think I'd like to think that I've helped more people than anything else.
Well, I think that you definitely are a touchstone for people when it comes to this. I mean, and you look at other strong women who have shared their stories, I know on different levels, because autoimmune diseases, there's a range, right? But Selma Blair and Christina Applegate, they've just been very forward with their stories, and countless people, countless women have said, look, you've made me not feel alone. And I mean, and you can't underestimate what that does for somebody.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. The power of people understanding that we have more things in common than different, whether it is, the things you like to do, whether it is, the spaces you occupy, or it's an illness that you may be dealing with. It creates strength, when you have those bonds. And so that was what I learned. My husband ran on a platform of leave no one behind, and you can't do that without being transparent. You can't do that without being accountable to your community, to your neighbors. And so we both really, really tried to live that. And I'm excited about the things that we'll be able to do over the next 4 years.
And I have to imagine it has to be liberating and freeing, right? Because you've carried this for a decade with you, knowing in the back of your mind also it's still there. I mean, you're managing it, but by opening up about it, it has to. I can imagine, right? A little bit of the weight off the shoulders.
You're absolutely right about that. I mean, when you have that and you hear other people talking about what's going on in their lives, and maybe you're choosing not to share that at that moment, which you certainly have the right to do. It's your own medical and personal history. But when you start to think about what a relief it can be, because just because I didn't have residual effects doesn't mean I don't worry about it. So with MS, people are waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so every day that I wake up, I'm thankful, because maybe I will wake up with something going on, or maybe I feel something different and I'm saying, is that MS happening today? But to be able to talk about it, to be able to speak to people freely, makes you understand that you're not alone, and that you can take that worry away, which can also cause illness in your body, right? Yeah. And so I feel that the ability to have the freedom, you're absolutely right. And I want other people to understand that the things that we're dealing with, particularly in a time when there's so many mental health issues, which is another issue that I care passionately about. We've all been affected by it. We've all lived with it. We know someone who's living with it. And the ability to communicate and find the professionals that can make a difference in your life, to find the community that can make a difference in your life. It's so important that, we understand and let people know that they have a space to be able to communicate things. So I always hope that I can be a little bit of that in somebody's life, to say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it.
I think that you're doing it. You're doing it.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your husband real quick, because he was just in our house over at Fox 5. I don't know if you saw it back in February. It was fun. He was great. He came in, stayed for a good part of the show.
He loved doing that with you.
Yeah, he was just cutting up, but they talked about some real serious issues, here in Maryland, and then they also talked about the fact that he is considered this rising star in the party. And these rumors swirling around, maybe a White House run. And he said, I'm staying put. The president's going to run again. I'm going to support him. But I have to ask you, what if the president doesn't run again?
Well, listen, I think my husband is absolutely right. He is excited to be the governor of Maryland. He worked really, really hard for that position. And he knows he has a lot of work to do, and it's not finished. And by the time this president, whatever decision he makes, it won't be time for my husband because he'll have to finish the work here. So, but he's absolutely right. The partnership between him and the president and Washington, our proximity to Washington and being able to get things done for Marylanders is just highly important. So he's going to stay focused on that work. I think it is so flattering and wonderful that they would see my husband in that light. He is a true public servant. We are, public servants together, and we want to continue to serve the state of Maryland. So he is.
What about in the future after 2024? You see that coming? Because I know when he was running, you've talked about how you turned to him and you told him, you were like, if you do decide to do this, you're going to be the one that they don't see coming.
Oh,
how did you know that?
Well, you know what? Because I think it was his time. That was the thing. It was his time. I think Maryland was looking for someone who saw everybody. And that's my husband. I'll never forget when I took him to meet my grandfather, who was also a military man. My grandfather's buried in Arlington now. And so he was enlisted. And when he met my husband, my mother said, well, what do you think? And he said, oh, he is the best listener. He said, I'm an enlisted man and he's an officer. And he let me speak the whole time and he listened to me the whole time. My husband is an amazing partner. And so I'm not surprised that people see him as going further. And truly, it is a blessing to have people think that way about him. But he didn't get into this work. He didn't get into this job. He didn't apply for this job to go to the next job. What he wanted to do was take his public service to the next level. And he's so honored to have this opportunity. So the future holds what it holds, right? But he's going to finish the job here, and that I know.
Okay. All right. we have figured this out. We have put that to rest. I just want to make sure that I'm covering all my ground because I know that you have quite the schedule, and I don't want to miss anything. We talked about your show. Let's see here. Talked about that. Because then if I walk away, I'll be like,
don't
oh
worry.
my
Take
God.
your time. Don't take. You've been so generous with me. Take your time.
Yeah, no, this is great. I guess, maybe in closing, unless there's anything else that you want to talk about, but we are wrapping up Women's History Month. You talked a lot about, your own mother being a vital figure in your life, but I have to imagine through everything that you've been through personally, with health-wise, and then professionally, being a working mom, a supportive wife on a campaign trail, I can imagine that you've needed to pull strength from something or someone. Yeah. So I'd be interested in hearing who that was, or what that figure, what it looks like.
Well, I have to tell you, I know a lot of amazing people and a lot of amazing women. And so many have had a wonderful impacts on my life, even just throughout the campaign, getting to know the Lieutenant Governor. She is a force to be reckoned with. We had a women's breakfast here this morning where we honored many of the women who are doing the work of our state. But for me personally, my first hero was my mother. I come from a union family. My mother, a teacher, and my father was an operating engineer in New York. And they were very involved with their unions, the importance of working, on behalf of middle class families. And so I saw their their advocacy. I saw their activity, and that's where I learned to become an advocate. And I learned that from my mother, and watching her just making sure that we had what we needed. And her favorite line is, "You have to fight for your right to party."
Yes, okay.
And so what that meant, that's right. And what that meant was you have to advocate for yourself. And what I learned from that is after you advocate for yourself, you can advocate for others. And so I learned to do that from her. And I'm so excited to be able to be in the position to do that for women in Maryland, to do that for the children of Maryland, those who have felt like they've been left behind. Yeah. And so I'm excited about that.
when we talked with Governor Moore, he said one of the big issues that he wanted to address was crime. That was a huge one. But as a mom, I would love to know what's at the top of your tier. Like, if you look out at the state of Maryland and the people of Maryland, you know, the one thing that you would love to fix if you could just snap your fingers, or you think that you guys should get right to,
yes.
If it was up to you.
Yes, well, the truth of the matter is we shouldn't have any child living in poverty. There is just no reason in the United States and in the wealthiest state in the country that any child should be living in poverty. Because when you live in poverty, it surrounds you in every way. It's not just, as my husband always said, it's not just in your home, it's in the food you eat, it's in the water you drink, it's in the communities you live in. And so if I can be in the position to elevate some of the issues and bring together those who can help to affect change, obviously having the ear of a very important person who can make some of those changes. But there's so many organizations that are doing the work, but need someone to help elevate the work that they're doing. I want to be right there. If I can, like you said, if I could snap my fingers, I'd change that right now, right here. But the truth of the matter is that we have to come together to be intentional about those changes. Unfortunately, it is not going to happen by a snap of a finger, but it will happen if we come together, if we create the policies that make the difference in the lives of those children, and we create the spaces where they can be safe, where they can have healthy food. I see myself as a connector and a convener. I think the First Lady's office has tremendous convening power to be able to do that, and I want to be in the center of that, bringing together the organizations that are doing the work on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the only way we stop the cycle, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our kids have so much promise. We have so much opportunity. We need to stop cherry picking and saying who gets through and who doesn't, right? This is the land of opportunity. Let's make sure everybody has that opportunity to be able to succeed. We know of so many stories of people who come from humble beginnings, and that is the wonderful thing about this state and about this country. But you do have to have a fair shot. You do have to have an opportunity, and we need to make sure that we do that.
Level the playing field.
Absolutely.
Right? Anything that we don't know about you, like any hidden talents or anything fun?
Listen.
Yes.
I will tell you, at the beginning of COVID, I needed an outlet, as many of us did, and I started playing tennis.
Ooh.
I did.
Pickleball? I feel like pickleball.
I know,
is like
pickleball's a thing. I'm probably a little bit outdated now, but I refuse to play pickleball yet until I really feel like I've mastered the tennis, the game of tennis. But it was such a wonderful opportunity to connect with women, to learn and be active. It's a lifelong sport, and so it is something that I make sure that I do. And I think I got pretty good at it. I played basketball for a while.
Me too. Yes.
I played volleyball. We have a pretty amazing basketball team right now. University of Maryland.
I wish you had a hoop here and we could have shot a game of horse or something. We need to do that next time.
We'll do that next time. But you know, super proud. I have to give my alma mater. Super proud of the women's basketball team. We're gonna take it all the way. Maryland, absolutely. But yeah, so sports is something that I enjoy. I love it, and I know women who are so many talented women, and I play with a lot of them on that tennis court, and we have a good time doing it. And it's something that I keep myself, you know, moving. And I don't take it for granted to be able to move the way that I can. And so I try to stay active in that. So I don't know if somebody would think it's my talent, but that it is a talent, but I think it's my talent.
But I think it shows. You can pick up any, like I'm gonna, after I pop this baby out, my kids play golf, and I have to caddy for them every week and be told that I know nothing about this game, and I'm the reason why they're failing and not doing well. And so I too was gonna pick up a club and say it's never too late. And I want to take a hip hop class. Like I want to become one of these cool TikTok dancers.
There you go.
You know what? And I told my daughter. She said she'd do it with me. So I think that there is a lesson in that. How about your husband? Tell me something that we haven't seen on the campaign trail that has not been printed. I want the tea. I want to know something that we don't know about him. That he.
Well, listen. I think some people know, but I'm going to say it again. He is an amazing singer. My husband has a beautiful voice.
You got any videos?
We do. He sang on the campaign trail. He loves. Next time
But I
you
mean, like
have
singing
him,
in the shower.
Yes,
Like, I need that
he
video.
can really sing. And the song that I love to hear him sing is 2 songs. One is "Redemption Song" by Bob Marley. The other song that I love to hear him sing is by Aerosmith, and it's the one from. Oh goodness, it's
Don't
slipping my
break
mind.
my heart.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Armageddon?
about. Yes, it's from
Yes.
the movie Armageddon. Oh,
Yes,
he sang that to me.
Close your eyes, 'cause I
Yes,
miss you,
yes.
babe. I don't want to miss a thing.
I don't want to miss a thing.
there we
That's
go.
right. So next time you get him to do that.
Okay.
But he's also amazing in the kitchen.
Really?
He learned a lot of wonderful cooking secrets from his grandmother. And he is very good. And he's one of these people who just like looks in the cabinet. He's not going to give you a list of what he needs. He's going to go to the cabinet. He's going to pull it, the doors open, and then he's going to make something with it. He wants to do a cook-off with the chefs here. So he does. That's how
Wow, he's
excited
real
he is about it.
competitive.
He's competitive. So
Does he
we're
have a
gonna
specialty dish? I mean, one that you guys love?
Well, one of the dishes that we do is more of a traditional dish is oxtails. As you know, his
oxtails.
mother is from Jamaica, and his mother's side of the family is Jamaican. So he is really great at oxtail. But
Does he make it as a soup or is
he
it as
makes it. He gets his crock pot out. I even bought him one for Christmas one time.
Wow.
He gets his crock pot. He gets all his ingredients and he doctors it up and he cooks it overnight. And it's delicious. It's something that we all look forward to on the holidays. But he is good though. He loves to be on the grill.
Does he ever cook here? I mean, does he have time or he hasn't had time yet?
He hasn't had time yet, but I
Yeah.
think it's cathartic for him. So I know that he's going to make time to do it. I know
y'all
he
need
is.
to do a backyard barbecue.
Yes,
Or something.
absolutely.
That would be so
That would be
fun.
fun. Well, we also have a wonderful Easter egg hunt coming up, and that's the thing. We want to do a lot of fun programming here at the house, so that people could come and see the history, see the art that we're going to display. I want them to experience, living
You want to
here.
make it touchable.
I want
Yeah.
to make it touchable because when I came here as a young staffer, even though I never imagined myself, I was still in awe of being in this space. And I want children to say, hey, I could be governor one day. I could be, the person who protects. There's so many jobs that people can take and do, but you have to be able to see it. You have to be able to experience, ask the questions, and kids have so many amazing questions. So we definitely want to open up the home to them and their parents, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, everywhere you walk, there's a story, right?
There is a story.
And
There
an
is a story.
inspiration that lies within. Well, First Lady Dawn Moore, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much
Oh, my
for
goodness.
sitting down and talking with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and we're just so excited about you and proud of all the work that you illuminate, the good stuff in the world. And that baby, that's going to be a beautiful baby.
In this world,
So baby number
4.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you are
and
my
I'm
hero.
old. And so,
you are not. You are amazing.
No, trust me. A lot of older women have been like, "You inspire me." Now, I want to wait till I'm older to have babies. I'm like, great. So,
when are you due?
I'm due the end of June. Well, actually, early July. But I always have them early.
Okay.
I don't have easy pregnancies, so to speak. So, and that's why we kind of waited so long with this one. But yeah. So I think end of June, early
Good for
July.
you.
So we'll
and
see.
what's your age range?
So 12, 9, 5, and then now.
So sweet. But that's a nice spread.
It is.
That's a nice spread.
My 12-year-old's like, oh my gosh, 2041, this kid's graduating 20. I'm going to be 20 when he's like 8 years old, And I was like, good, you can come watch him.
Well, you have to bring that baby over here because my kids are like, Mommy, we want a brother or sister. I'm like, the shop is closed.
I think our shop's about to be closed. Yesterday, my mom's like, he needs to go have that surgery. She's Korean, crazy mom, and she's like, he needs to get that snipped. I'm like, Mom, don't worry. This is planned. So.
Oh my goodness.
But this has been so wonderful.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
And I look forward to, maybe you could show me a couple things,
Sure.
like the Frederick Douglass.
I'm happy to do that.
And I know Brittany's probably wanting to throw herself down the stairs because we probably went over our time.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
Can I just show her the two here?
Yeah, because I can. Oh yeah, he's gonna just get a 2-shot.
Okay.
So in the ages of your children, I felt like that they kind of paralleled ours, right?
Yeah. So our daughter will be